Hey guys, John here, Feldman Physical Therapy and Performance, and I want to talk today about race tapers. So if you're an endurance athlete, you're familiar with the taper, right? That period of time in between your training block and your race, right? That rest and recovery period that's letting you rest and recover and kind of get primed and ready to race. So we feel a lot of people overestimate it. Is it necessary? Absolutely necessary. But we think people just plan a little bit too long, and a lot of the downloadable training programs online, the generic cookie cutter programs, plan a 2-week taper in there, right? Where your volume comes down, but you maintain intensity, but you're just doing it a little bit too long. 2 weeks is way too long. So what is the appropriate amount of time? Well, that's the ding, 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 big fortune cookie reveal at the end of the video today. So we'll definitely get into that. But first and foremost, the taper is absolutely necessary, okay? It's one of those things where your body needs to rest. Rest is absolutely important, but too much rest can actually end up, working against you. So we have to talk about a few concepts here, including detraining, rest and recovery, maintaining intensity, changing volume, things like that. But we'll get into what the ideal situation and ideal scenario is for any kind of racer. So we'll obviously talk about that. I have to say thank you guys. The channel has been growing. Recent milestone, we hit 1,000 subscribers. I think we're over that now. So I know Justin, Ashley, and I are very appreciative. So thank you so much for all your likes and subscriptions. Please continue to do so. Please continue to tell your friends, share the videos, but more importantly, let us know what you want to hear. It's been a lot of fun making these videos and getting content out there, so that's just the bottom line. We'll keep doing it as long as you guys tell us that you want it. So thanks again, and share this video if you feel so inclined. So getting back into what the taper is, right? Let's talk about a few concepts. So obviously rest is really important for you, all right? You train and you put a certain amount of stress on your body so that you can implement a stress response. Your exercise is inducing a certain type of stress and adaptation in your body to benefit and recover from them, right? We'll talk strictly about endurance events right now. You work hard and your heart rate is working at a certain level where you're actually pumping more blood and more oxygen, nutrients, red blood cells, all that good stuff to your muscles for the exercise. In turn, you're going to stress yourself to a point where your body has to recover from that. So the exercise is really, really important. The specific type of exercise and intensity that you're maintaining is important to create a certain type of adaptation in your body to improve and get better and better and better. No different than when you have to lift a certain type of heavy weight in order to induce a response in your body to make your muscles grow back faster, or grow back bigger. Same thing happens when you train. You're training yourself to be more efficient so you can get faster, or basically you can do the same amount of work with less effort. That's the essential training adaptation. So, what does that mean in terms of your body? Well, your body is, changing, and so one of the first things that happens is your blood volume actually changes to supply more oxygen and blood to your muscles for work, right? So conversely, when you detrain or if you stop training, that's also one of the first detraining things that happens and occurs in your body. You will actually start to lose that benefit of the increased blood volume. So that means you're going to be pumping and moving less blood, less oxygen, less plasma, red blood cells, again, all that good stuff. You're going to be moving less of that with the same amount of work. So that's why if anybody's ever taken prolonged amount of time off and you start training again, your heart rate goes way up. The amount of effort is skyrocketing for something that used to be so easy when you were training, right? So I think conceptually that's pretty easy to understand. When you train, you're improving your efficiency and you're able to push more blood. More blood means more oxygen, red blood cells, all that good stuff. When you start to detrain, or when your body has detrained, that increased blood volume is one of the first things to go. That is really, really important because that's what kind of leads into the concept of a taper, okay? So the whole point of a taper is to rest and recover. You want to decrease your overall volume. Anywhere from 10 to 40% overall decrease in volume is acceptable for a proper taper, okay? But you want to maintain intensity. Now, the type of person, if you know yourself as a racer, what is your history? Are you a strong racer? Are you relatively new to the sport? Some people are going to benefit from more or less reduction in volume. That's completely up to you, and that's really what your body benefits from the most. And sometimes that's just trial and error. All right, so you're gonna have to race for a while and find out what works for you. No different than proper nutrition, et cetera, et cetera. So overall decrease in volume from 10 to 40%, but you want to maintain intensity. You want to maintain your body, your heart, your lungs, that same effort level for shorter periods of time. That way your body is still used to working at that level. so you can avoid that detraining phenomenon, okay? So again, the main point behind a taper, same concept as a deloading week. You're going to cut volume down, but you're going to maintain intensity. So your effort and work level is going to be the same. That's very, very important, okay? So here's the thing. If you rest too long, and rest is good, but too much of that, you will start to creep into that detraining threshold, okay? And so speaking of threshold, your VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen you can consume during exercise. That's going to be supplied to your muscles. So that's also a certain type of threshold. The more you detrain or the less you maintain intensity for longer periods of time, your overall amount of ability to use oxygen is going to come down. So your VO2 max, or your ability to use and supply that oxygen to your muscles, your working muscles, is going to get less and less as well. Think of it as less gas tank for your car, okay? If you have less gas to work with, you're not gonna be able to go as far. So if you have less oxygen that you're going to be efficient at using, you're not gonna be able to supply that to your muscles, you're not gonna be able to attain or achieve the same workload and work rate as you were when you were trained. So too much rest and recovery means that you start to lose that blood volume, which means that you're going to lose the amount of oxygen you can deliver, and your VO2 max is also going to come down. Now, why does that concept tie into your taper? Because your VO2 max has been shown to actually start to be compromised at around that 10-day mark. So that's why we think people that aim for a 10 to 14-day taper, you're actually flirting with a really, really bad line here. You're flirting with that line where you actually may start to get detrained if you're really not nailing every single workout, every single bit of recovery, every single intensity mark, right? It's just too dangerous, right? So you don't need to rest that long. That's probably enough recovery. There's too much risk than there is reward. So if you rest for 8 to 10 days, all right, you're not gonna really get that much more benefit by resting an extra 2 to 4 days. So resting 10 to 14 days, the juice just ain't worth the squeeze, okay? You're probably flirting with that line, with that decreased blood volume, decreased VO2 max, so decreased overall efficiency at working at a high rate. So that's why we think that a lot of those programs that call for that 10 to 14 day taper, they're really overstating it a little bit, and they're actually kind of setting you up for maybe a little bit of failure, or at least they're really not doing you justice. It's a little bit too much risk and not enough reward for that extra couple days. So what do we recommend? Honestly, an 8 to 10 day taper is plenty for most people. Recreational athletes, which comprises the majority of us, right? That's probably all you really need. 8 to 10 days is a perfect amount of time to cut your volume down, maintain intensity, stay fresh, and stay primed and ready to go for your race. Okay, so that's really the take-home message behind today. Is we want you guys to understand what a taper is, what happens the longer you actually go through that taper. Around that 10-day mark is when your body physiologically starts to become compromised. You're going to lose a lot, well, I shouldn't say a lot, you're going to start to lose some of the benefits rather than maintain and rest and recover, right? So 0 to 8 to 10 days is where you can actually maintain fitness while still recovering. But anything beyond that 8 to 10 day mark, you're starting to actually get compromised from a workload standpoint and an intensity and efficiency standpoint. You're just not going to be able to hit the same targets. So that's what we really feel about the taper here, and why it's so important to actually think about this going into your training. So plan for that. Don't plan for that 2-week taper. You're going to be just fine with an 8 to 10 day taper if that's something you want to program in. Everything else in your training, that's up to you guys. We don't want to give you that advice right now. The only thing we can say is don't overestimate the taper. Appreciate it, plan for it, but the more you know kind of thing, and that's what the topic of today's post is really about. So just understanding your body and how it works. You do want to use and maximize your oxygen uptake and oxygen delivery to your muscles so you can work for longer periods of time more efficiently. And if you get beyond that 8 to 10 day mark of decreased training volume, you may start to compromise that. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, let us know. Write that in the comments. Again, this was a very simplified version of a very complicated topic. So yes, I know I left some things out. I tried to make it a line of best fit as much as possible. So we appreciate any input. We appreciate continuing this conversation. This kind of stuff is fun for us. At least it is for me. So I really enjoy learning about this, talking about it more, and then getting it out to everybody else. So that's it, guys. That's your taper. How to maximize it, how to avoid some common pitfalls. Any questions, reach out to us. Subscribe to the channel. Keep giving us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. And that's it. Happy training.